להודות לממלאת מקום ראש הממשלה ושרת החוץ ציפי לבני, וכעת אנחנו נפתח את הכנס באופן פורמלי, ולאור השתתפות אני גם אעבור לשפה האנגלית. When we originally conceived this conference, I was actually having a discussion with an authority on international law in Europe who I was trying to coax into coming. And he said, "You're going to speak about the challenge to Israel's legitimacy at a conference in Jerusalem?" He says, "Who has a conference about the legitimacy of France? Or who has a conference about the legitimacy of Germany? You know, why are you basically holding a conference that relates to this subject?" And my answer was, well, at the Oxford Union, they don't have a debate about the legitimacy of France or about an alternative state structure for any European country, but they can have a debate about the one-state solution. And the same is true for the School of Oriental and African Studies in London, where a conference was held within a similar vein. These are only two examples of a troubling trend we're seeing in parts of academia, but it's part of a general pattern that anyone who's been exposed to discourse in the international community is aware of. Ironically, Israel is a country that has reached 60 years of age. Anyone visiting Tel Aviv will see the tremendous accomplishments architecturally, economically, that Israel has. Anyone aware of the strength of Israel's industries is aware, again, of what how far Israel has come since the days of 1948. Yet in international circles, many times, these kinds of fundamental critiques about the rights of the Jewish people to a Jewish state are still raised 60 years later. In my judgment, there are a number of reasons why this is occurring. And of course, this will be raised by the various speakers today who will be looking into this phenomenon, as well as what should be Israel's answer to this challenge. As somebody who served at the United Nations, I can tell you that the UN of 1947 that approved UN General Assembly Resolution 181 is not the UN of 2008. Something very different has happened to the international community. To be a member of the UN back in 1945, when the UN was established, you had to be a country which declared war on the Axis powers, either on Nazi Germany or Imperial Japan. You had to basically support a certain democratic ethos that was common to most of the countries. And even if you weren't a democratic country, like the Soviet Union or Saudi Arabia, you had to acquiesce to the dominant democratic ethos that emerged after World War II. So that when the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was drafted and approved, even those two countries could not oppose the Universal Declaration. They had to basically sit quietly and let this Universal Declaration pass in the General Assembly. They abstained. They didn't even dare vote against. But today, looking at the membership of the UN, we do not have a group of largely democratic countries. We have a group of totally different countries who are interested in international rules of the game being adopted, which serve their interests, which are very different from the interests that were in 1947. So part of the change that Israel has had to confront isn't so much Israel, it's also the change in the international community. It, by the way, is not surprising to see many leading speakers in the West talk about the need for a new organization of democracies to replace the United Nations. There's another element I'm just going to raise in my opening remarks that I think we also have to take into account. In preparing for another study which the Jerusalem Center will be releasing, I was reading a lot of the literature on counterinsurgency warfare, particularly literature which the commander of U.S. troops in Iraq, General David Petraeus, has been writing and contributing to. And in it you see that when a Western democracy is facing an insurgent threat, part of the strategy of the insurgency is to delegitimize its opponent. And so part of our adversaries, or part of their strategy, is also to use diplomacy as an extension of conflict. And it's something we have to be aware of, because oftentimes we see international fora as places where conflicts are supposed to be resolved, not places where conflicts are continued by other means. But these details, I imagine, will be raised by different speakers. One thing I'd like everyone to be conscious of: there has been a fundamental change in the consensus that existed, and this is something I pointed out earlier, in parts of the international community about this conflict, about Israel's rights. And part of what Israel has to decide upon is whether we allow this shift to occur or whether we actively try to oppose it. And I again imagine this is a subject which various speakers will address. Just to complete the opening of the conference, I will ask our partner from the Konrad-Audenauer Foundation to say a few words. I just want to express the appreciation of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs for our partnership in the past and for the hard work we've done together, and for giving us the opportunity on the 60th anniversary of the State of Israel to discuss this difficult but yet very important subject. Lars, thank you.
בוקר טוב לכולם, דוקטור גולד, קהל נכבד, מפני שאפילו הקנצלרית הגרמנית מדברת עכשיו בעברית, אני גם מרגיש מחויב להגיד משפט בעברית. בעוד כמה שבועות ישראל חוגגת את יום הולדתה ה-60, לכן אני מאחל כל טוב לכל עם ישראל, עתיד מבטיח וחיים בשלום וביטחון. Well, תודה רבה. אז אני מעבר לאנגלית עכשיו. Well, it's certainly with great pleasure to greet you here on behalf of the Konrad-Audenauer-Stiftung at this conference. And I feel particularly honored that the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Israel, Tzipi Livni, honored us with her introduction and with her presence in the beginning of this conference. As Ambassador Gold said, that this conference was organized in cooperation with the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs to commemorate 60 years of the State of Israel. And I would like to, again now in English, to use this opportunity to congratulate the people of Israel on this occasion. Well, as you well know, a couple of days ago, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel visited Israel, and I had the privilege to join her in some parts of her visit here, and also at the start of her program in Sde-Boker, when she visited the grave of Ben-Gurion as well as the kibbutz. And when I was standing there, looking to the very scenery desert there, I was thinking about the beginnings of the State of Israel 60 years ago. And when I thought about it, I must say I was very impressed by the achievements of Israel in the past 60 years. Israel was built up in the most difficult circumstances from many perspectives and had to meet many challenges, including hostilities and wars from its neighbors, integration of people from very different backgrounds, and of course you can name many more challenges. Israel today is a vibrant and strong democracy, a country that has a very rich cultural life, is leading worldwide in many areas like high technologies. Israel is a success story. But still, and this was also mentioned by Ambassador Gold, and this is also the topic of the conference of the day, there are major challenges for Israel related to its rights. Many would even say that the very existence of Israel is still challenged. It is today, as the Chancellor Merkel put it in her speech at the Knesset, Staatsräson, or raison d'être of the Federal Republic of Germany, to stand by Israel and not to compromise the right of existence of Israel. And Merkel emphasized in her speech that this is not only hollow words, but it has to translate into concrete policies and has clear political consequences for the German government. And I would like to add here and quote from the new basic program of the Christian Democratic Union, the party of Angela Merkel, but also the party the Konrad-Audenauer Foundation is close to, and I quote, "We stand for Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state in secure borders." And this is what the basic program of the CDU says, and this is the guideline also for the work of the Konrad-Audenauer-Stiftung here in Israel, to stand for Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state in secure borders. And this is also the guiding light, not only for our cooperation on this conference here, but also for, as I said, for our work here in Israel, but also for a series of events, workshops, seminars, visit to schools that we have in Germany during the 60 years celebration of Israel. And I'm very proud and happy that some of our speakers of today are also part of this program, Yehuda Blum, Gabi Bach, and others. Thank you very much on this occasion. I would like to conclude on a very personal note. I grew up and lived 22 years in the German Democratic Republic in the eastern part of Germany. And this was a state that never saw any responsibility emanating from the German past and did not feel in any way responsible for the state of Israel. On the contrary, the German Democratic Republic, the socialist state in eastern Germany, never acknowledged the right of Israel to exist, never acknowledged the state of Israel, and never established diplomatic relations. Of course, I belonged to the church then, so I was not part of the official ideology, but being raised in this environment, I feel today responsible and feel a special responsibility to work today in Israel and for Israel. Something I could not have done then, but I can do now today. And I see the cooperation with the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs and this conference as a particularly important part of this mission. I would like to thank Ambassador Dore and all the staff of the Jerusalem Center for the excellent cooperation we enjoy for many years now, and also for the cooperation organizing this conference. Of course, I would like to thank also all the speakers for sharing their insights today with us, and I would like to thank all of you coming to this important conference commemorating 60 years of Israel. Od pa Mazel Tov ל-60 שנות מדינת ישראל. תודה רבה.
I'll ask the speakers and chairman of the next session to please take their positions.